I want you to think back on when you were first learning how to cross the street. What was the first thing you were always told to do before you stepped into the road? Look both ways before you cross the street. Now I want you to imagine yourself at that intersection with the blindfold that you're wearing tonight. How are you going to look both ways before you cross the street? You cannot choose not to cross, because if you did, you'd never get off that block. I believe that as much as we can do on our own, at some point we also need a little help along the way. In my life, I received a lot of help from various sources, one of which was Cnib and another was APSI. Cnib has helped me significantly, and I think it's important that we talk about the impacts that that has. We often hear about the services that an agency offers, but we don't often hear about the impacts that those services have on our lives, and that's what I'd like to talk to you about tonight. The first impact that I believe Cnib had for me was support, education, and information. I was born into a family of 6 children as the second oldest. After several arising concerns, my parents sought answers through the IWK, where they learned that I had a rare condition called aniridia. Aniridia is caused by a gene deformation and means I was born without irises. Your irises are the colored part of your eye. So my eyes are basically dilated pupils. They're all black, there's no color, leaving me very light sensitive. At 18 months, I had a cataract removed in my left eye. At age 13, I was diagnosed with glaucoma, and this past year, I have also developed a cataract in my right eye. As a result of my eye conditions, I am considered legally blind with a visual acuity of 20/200. Fortunately, my parents were immediately connected to Cnib through the IWK. Having little information to begin with, they were able to access the Cnib library to borrow information, tools, and toys that helped with visual stimulation for me. New to raising a child who was legally blind, my parents chose to treat me like every other child, having benefited from the information and awareness that they received from the Cnib. They maintain the same rules, expectations, roles, and chores for every child. I respected this approach that they had learned, first, because it helped me develop my independence and curiosity. Second, it allowed me to see strategies that I could do that helped me do everything else that other people could do. And thirdly, it gave me the platform to discover who I was beyond the vision loss. At that time, we had received enough support that, as a child, I didn't see my vision as a barrier. My mom told me recently a story of when I came home from kindergarten, and I said to her, "Mom, you never told me girls played basketball." And she said, "Well, where did that come from?" And I said, "Well, I left school today and I saw girls playing." And she said, "Well, Kristen, it wasn't about girls playing. I wasn't sure if that's something you'd want to do because you might not be able to see the ball." And I countered with, "Well, Mom, how do you know if I don't try?" I learned to advocate for myself, and I learned that it's okay to try through the Cnib. The next impact that I feel that Cnib has had for me is education, awareness, and understanding. It was at the age of 6 that I, for the first time, heard visual impairment being referred to in a negative way. But as I settled into learning structure of school, I began to really notice the differences between myself and the other peers in my class. I was a child who had to sit in the front, had to be pulled out of class occasionally for reasons students didn't understand, and my adaptive tools were a little foreign to kids at that young age. Moving forward, I did start to experience a bit of bullying related to my visual impairment and the adaptive tools that I used, which all did come to a head in grade 5 after an intensive incident at the lunchtime playground. Following that, I went home and I told my parents I never want to go to school again. They reached out to the Cnib and APSI and received valuable information from the Cnib. Moving forward, students in my class received workshops on what it was like to be visually impaired. Students actually had simulation and active activities where they got to experience what it was like to see the way I see and what the tools did to help me. Following that, I actually received very little bullying related to my visual impairment. The important thing was that for me, at such a young age, when I had gone home, from loving school to saying I never want to go to school again, the CNIB helped me from wanting to give up to now I can tell you that I have no intention of giving up anytime soon. The third impact is connection. The third impact is connection and opportunity. CNIB develops connection for their clients as well as their family and friends. Growing up, I had the opportunity to attend camps, retreats, and many other activities where I got the chance to meet people who are also legally blind or visually impaired. For me, it was a great opportunity to not only see that I wasn't alone, but to also gain knowledge, experience, and learn from new friends. It even gave you people to ask questions to that really you may not have as many people around who could answer, like, how did you cope when you learned you would never be able to drive? Or, when you start dating, how do you drop the bomb that you're legally blind without them getting scared away? Beyond connection, CNIB also helps foster relationships, encouragement, and opportunity. In grade 6, I was honored with the connection to the opportunity to go to NASA and go to space camp at Huntsville, Alabama, where I lived like an astronaut for a week. It's tough to know of all the opportunities that exist, but when you have a resource such as CNIB behind you, opportunities become readily available. The fourth impact that I would say CNIB had for me was the value of self and experience. By high school, I had immersed myself in extracurricular activities, academics, volunteer initiatives, and I even joined the high school wrestling team, where I brought home all but one gold medal over 4 years. At that time, my parents had also heard that it's really important to put and engage in activities. So from their learning, they did not hesitate to immerse me in anything they could. I took piano, violin, swimming, played basketball, and many other things. As I grew through high school, I did, however, struggle a bit with accommodations. Accommodations made me different, and accommodations can sometimes be challenging. When I was on the wrestling team, there was even a rule for people who were visually impaired that would help you actually learn or know better where your opponent was, but I had struggled so much at the time that I refused to use it. However, through support from organizations like CNIB, I was shown that accommodations do not take away from the value of what you do. They are support for you, which accommodate a functional ability, not a condition. It is similar to someone who breaks their leg. When you break your leg, you need a cast. That cast accommodates an injury. The cast is there to help strengthen your injury until it is strong enough and it is supported that it can be independent and be just as strong and do everything else the other leg can do. The next impact that I would say that CNIB had for me was learning how to ask for help. Throughout my work experience, I have had employers who recognized my abilities and provided me with a platform to thrive. I remember one employment where I was finding it a little difficult to see my computer among other work tools. I had not really asked for help though, as sometimes you want to be independent and be able to do your own thing. A couple of the tech guys who were really great in the organization noticed my struggle and that I hadn't asked for help yet. I came back from getting a coffee one day and found a 40-inch TV sitting on my computer hooked up to my laptop. People often want to help, but sometimes don't know how. Through the CNIB, I learned that it's important to ask for help because sometimes people don't know what they can do to help. There have been 2 jobs that I've also had to leave due to not having respect in terms of equal treatment or my rights not being respected. I learned the importance of advocating for myself, found valuable information, and was able to leave those employments. The next impact that I would say CNIB has had for me is helping people see beyond the vision loss. Many of my friends or other people that I know often say, Kristen, had you not told me you were legally blind, I would have never have known. I believe that I can function quite well and I can do most of the things that other people can do. However, it can be challenging for sometimes for people to see that. I'm really proud to be able to work and function very independently. At one of my employments, although I have a full-time job, I also carry a part-time job at the mall. And I remember a customer who I had helped very frequently pick out her outfits came in, and she heard me mention that I was legally blind. She came up to me and said, "Excuse me, did you just say that you're legally blind?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "But you helped me pick out my outfits and they look really good." This challenges common beliefs. My older brother often says, "I don't think she's legally blind. She can kick everybody's butt at Nintendo." And my grandmother will tell anybody that I can pretty much do anything I set my mind to except drive a car, so she has promised me to let me drive her car sometime. I find challenge is a matter of perspective, and it's important for us to be able to see beyond the vision loss. Because of the tools and strategies and skills that I have learned through the CNIB, I am able to work, live, and function very independently. And because of that, my friends, family, coworkers, and others are able to see beyond the vision loss to who I am and not vision loss as part of who I am. The seventh impact that I would say I have found from the CNIB is being able to look forward to the future. Knowing something that you have the ability to do, that you have the ability to do many things, is very empowering. Although I've experienced many challenges in my life has also been full of exceptional experiences that I'm very grateful for. My family have done more for me than I could ever express to you. I have the best friends a person could ask for. My teachers and peers helped me so much. I recently overcame one of my greatest fears of needles and got a tattoo. In grade 12, I was awarded the Terry Fox Humanitarian Award, and in 2013, I was fortunate to spend a week with 49 other young adults as I learned and was inspired to pursue my passion for leadership, as I was selected through the 21 Inc. program as one of Atlantic Canada's top 50 emerging leaders. Presently, I am loving my job as operations manager for the Canadian Mental Health Association for New Brunswick. But when it comes down to it, we're human beings and we're meant to be. We're meant to make a difference. Don't accept that you can't do something. That's something that CNIB taught me. When talking to my father about being here tonight, he said, "I've told people on many occasions that it's not a good idea to tell you that you can't do something because it'll probably provoke you to prove them wrong." I recently discovered I think he's right. Regardless of what life throws at me, because of the support I've received from CNIB, I believe that I have the ability to try and look forward to the possibilities and the future that lies ahead. The final impact that I'd say CNIB has for me is it's taught me that we all have the ability to make an impact. Have you ever asked yourself what you can be for an impact? What can you do to make a difference? I'll leave you with a few things you can start doing right now. The first is to learn. Educate yourself on the challenges people face. The more you know, the more you're able to help, or the more you're able to talk to them about it. The second one is to share, talk, and ask. I have found my voice, and I'm very comfortable telling my story, but I can tell you that there's a lot of people out there who are not yet ready. Sometimes it's up to you to ask the question or start the conversation. I often use humor. I find it works quite well. I once was working part-time at my mall job. We had a new girl who was extremely shy, so I figured I'd kind of break it a little bit by her looking to find where a shirt went. I told her it was right behind her. She goes, "Man, I must be blind." I said, "No, actually, that's me." The last thing you can do is give. When you give to an organization such as CNIB, you're creating and enhancing impact. It could be giving of your time as a volunteer, or it could be giving of your resources in the form of a donation. CNIB provides clients with the knowledge of how to cross the street when they can't see to look both ways, giving clients the ability to move beyond the block and have the world as a possibility. I've come to believe that when someone believes in you, you feel like you can take on what you have ahead of you. But when you're given the tools to believe in yourself, the world is a possibility. So I'll leave you with the question, what will your impact be? Thank you.